Hayden and his producer Lisa Main went undercover in the Indonesian provinces where they discovered a secret police state operating with impunity, and they join me now. Guys, a fascinating story. You guys obviously stand out. How on earth did you go undercover in West Papua, where you obviously look quite different, and managed to sort of get in there and find the story?
We did stand out. That was the problem from the start. Thankfully, we had some people on the ground there who helped us out the whole time. We arrived at the Jayapura airport very early in the morning. It's a domestic flight from Jakarta, so we went straight through the airport, keeping our heads down, straight out.
Because as you mentioned, journalists are not particularly welcome in that area.
They're not. Look, you can try and get a visa to report from West Papua, but you won't get one. That's why the only real option is to go in as a tourist.
Lisa, what is it about this place that makes Indonesia want to hang on to it so tightly?
It's got an incredible amount of mineral wealth sitting below these beautiful lands. So it's rich, it's wealthy, and I think, you know, I mean, if you look at, I guess, the history, they feel it's theirs. And the act of free choice, which is, you know, disputed by the Papuans, is what they hold on to.
You mentioned that people live in fear, Hayden. How do you see that permeating their daily lives?
Look, it's everywhere. I mean, you just have to go out in the street and there's a police station every couple of kilometres, a military outpost. They're everywhere, they really are. And the biggest thing is that it's the sort of unseen component. So you don't know who's informing the authorities. And one of the big problems there at the moment is actually journalists informing the authorities about the independence movement. Even journalists can't be trusted in West Papua. A lot of people smile when I say that because a lot of them can't be trusted here either. So even the journos are handing information over to the authorities, and the independence leaders are getting in trouble because of it.
And that was,
Go ahead.
No, that was the most difficult thing, was actually trying to get a sense from a distance, being in Australia, to go, when we start to make contact with people on the ground in West Papua, who checks out, and, you know, what risks do we take in talking to people, how much information do we reveal about what we're planning on doing. That was very difficult.
How do you assess the legitimacy of some of the people you're talking to, and what their motives are?
Yeah, you tend to always look for the evidence. So we were quite forensic in terms of, you do read some reports that have a lot of claims, and then you'd look very quickly to try and back up that evidence. If it did happen at that time, if there's a second witness, we couldn't go to the authorities because we would have been kicked out. You know, we'd love to go back and, you know, put some of these allegations to the authorities, but yeah, it takes a lot of time in checking people out, and there's a lot of double checking, cross checking with kind of other trusted sources, perhaps outside West Papua as well.
Hayden, you mentioned the secret network of informants. What does that tell us about the independence struggle, that there are people who will cooperate with the Indonesian authorities?
It tells us that, really, what chance do they have of ever having any success in getting independence in West Papua? And they know that. You'll see the story we do tonight, where there are some amazingly telling comments from some of the independence leaders who simply know that the world is on Indonesia's side, and that no matter what happens in West Papua, very little seems to get out. Western governments say very little about it for fear of upsetting Jakarta. And I think that really is getting through to the independence leaders. They know that everything they've fought for 50 years appears no closer to being achieved.
Yeah, there's this incredible moment when we were sitting in this safe house, and there was quite a few of us sitting around, and were these jets flying over, and so we had to stop recording because you know, you could hear these thundering jets over the top, and they all kind of heard the jets, and they all just looked up and went, "Obama," you know, and it was, I found that quite, you know, quite a sad moment, actually.
Is the diplomatic option shrinking? Would they ever resort to violence?
Well, some of them do. OPM is one particular independence group that is violent. It's got a terrible history of attacking civilians, military installations and so on. The people we spoke to were mostly from a group called KNPB. They claim to be non-violent. Some people think they are bordering on violence, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of evidence for that yet. they're the leaders we spoke to, and they are really trying to, I think, use the political option.
Civil force, I think, was the term he used.
Yeah, civil power now is what Victor Yamo wants, what these people want. They've set up a couple of groups internationally which they're using. One is International Lawyers for West Papua. Another one is International Politicians for West Papua from all around the world. And they're hoping that those two groups can, I guess, be used to try and push their cause. But when journos and media can't get in there and no one's really reporting on West Papua, it's hard to see how they can really gain any traction internationally.
All right, your report's part 2 comes out tonight. Just quickly, tell us what we can expect.
It's really the story of how Australia is involved. We look at the death of one man called Marco Tabuni, an independence leader who was shot by the police this year. There are a growing number of claims which suggest that Detachment 88 was involved. That's an Indonesian police unit which is meant to be cracking down on terrorism. Australia provides support to that unit, but there is growing evidence that perhaps this unit is doing other things like cracking down on separatist leaders.
Right, guys, good job. Well done.
Thank
Thanks
you
for coming to talk to us.
Excellent.